Hey guys, it's July 6th, 2025 in beautiful Alabama, USA. So we're a little late getting the garden going. We still haven't planted, but we're getting closer because it rained for 2 months solid. We got about 3 feet of rain altogether. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that we're getting set up for planting and just show you what our process is. So we had to get some dirt. Good thing that we were not planted yet when it rained. We had a couple of really low spots that flooded out. So we brought in a couple loads of dirt that we purchased and put them on the garden in those low spots. And today we're starting to lay out our garden. So just for those of you who knew us in Idaho, just to see what the difference in size is here, we've got a vegetable. This is gonna be our vegetable garden. It's also gonna have elderberries, blackberries, raspberries, and the elderberries down one side, blackberries on a side, raspberries on a side, and then we're gonna have the orchard come in over here, but with strawberries and other berries. So it's 300 feet long, and I think the widest is 100 feet wide at the widest spot. It follows the driveway, so the width varies as you go. So for people new to Idaho, again, this is the size of our entire Idaho property where we did market farming before. So our entire property, which would include where the house and the garage, everything was, if we took that entire property and made it into a vegetable garden, that's what you're looking at right here. So the scope is quite a lot bigger than what we've dealt with in the past. But just to lay this out, so our rows are 3 feet apart. And before we started, we had to get a square, which my husband knows how to do this. And what he does is he does a 3-4-5 concept. So because our garden's so big, he did 30 feet, he measured down the one side, and then 40 feet down the next side. And then you bring your measuring tape across to make a triangle, and it has to be at 50. So the 50 foot, it has to touch where the 30 and the 40 is to make that triangle, and that gives you a perfect square. So we get a perfect square to start off with, and that way our rows will all be straight and we won't end up with these crooked rows with a shorter row at the end that doesn't make sense. And it'll be easier if you're if you ever have to put in a drip system, everything will line up the way it's supposed to on your header. So it's important for stuff like that. I mean, this is just our process. Everybody has their own way of doing it. So you get your perfect square, you have your corner measured out, and then from there, we put our stakes in for each of the rows that we're gonna have. I think we ended up with 100 rows. So when you do this, just make sure you put your tape measure down and then measure on your tape measure. Because if you measure out and get your first stake in for your first row, and then you measure from the stake to the next stake and you make a slight error, then that error is going to compound. And then say you make another slight error further down. By the time you get to the end, the compounded error is going to be dramatic. So the best thing is to lay down a measuring tape along the entire row. For us, it was 300 feet. And then you check it right on the measuring tape. You check it right on your string line, which we put all the way down to the end. We measured out from the fence, so we had the same distance at this end as we did at that end, and then we took that string line all the way down, and then the measuring tape down the string line, and then every 3 feet there's a stake. So then we'll have to do the other side. Then when we do our rows, we can string from this stake all the way across the garden to the stake on the other side, and then we can plant right underneath the string line so that everything's straight. Which, as I said before, if you're doing a drip line at any point, that makes it way easier. Also, if you're going to be mowing between the rows, anything like that where you need a straight line, this is just going to save you in the long run. So there we are. That's our progress, and I'll keep you updated. Thanks for watching.